Okay, real good. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome to the Writers Workshop. Thank you, Brother Chris.
Bless you,
That's
man.
Brother
Bless you. Good to
Chris.
see you again, sir.
All right, all right. Okay. And I noticed we're moving different. There you go. Okay. Well, listen, welcome everyone to the Writers Workshop here on The Voice, 17104 Harrisburg. We're so glad to have this opportunity once again to, just kind of talk with you about the process of writing, all the things that are going on. And tonight we're dedicating this entire program to justice for Justin Johnson, a young man who, died of the natural complications, they say, from sickle cell anemia, but is either, and I'm just hearing this latest version here, either he was involved in a game in which he was playing of supposedly tag or whatever, uh, and or he was being chased by a group of guys, unjustly. And so they had some texts, emails going back and forth and different things. And, there's a picture. Thank you, Brother Chris. There's a picture of Justin. He's turning 17. Uh, in fact, I think it was this week he turned 17. Would have turned 17. He was 16 when he actually died. I'm sure you've been following the story in the newspaper and the news. And that is that, these boys came to his house, Central Dauphin student, and the group of students came to his house. And, you know, he came out and they somehow got into this here whole tag thing, they claim. And, you know, unfortunately, on the videotape, there are some voices, that use racial epithets and also, racial slurs really, and also, they're chasing him and all this stuff. And he sends a text back saying they would have never caught me or something like that. And people trying to figure out whether or not it was actually a game they were playing and he just overexerted himself or died, or whether or not these kids had malicious intent. I noticed in the front page of the paper yesterday, it says here, the father says, "I'm gutted. Not all kids who walk around looking normal are." And this is the father, Orville Johnson, father of Justin Johnson, speaking about the fact that Justin had a medical condition. Okay. He says, yeah. So anyhow, there's a lot being said. I'm glad to see that there were some vigils that took place with, parents who were concerned. Many of them Central Dauphin parents who went out and had a big vigil, and they, there's some balloons and all that kind of stuff in Justin's name. And then also, I understand there was a walkout at Central Dauphin East today to, protest and to make sure that this is looked into. And see, and that's great stuff, Chris. Thank you. That's the picture of the vigil that took place when a lot of people still didn't know exactly we still don't know what the situation is, but you can see a lot of parents came out. A lot of people were concerned about, what was being, reported and also what actually happened. And, you got to wonder when kids are playing, supposedly, these teams and everything, if they're friends and if you're playing a friendly game of tag and all that kind of stuff, or ring up, whatever they call that thing. Why the racial epithets? Why, call them names and go back to Africa and all this kind of stuff? No, that's not necessary. So, it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. A lot of people are concerned that it will be whitewashed. It'll be seen as just a game, and unfortunately, this boy died from exertion and that kind of thing. And others will say, no, there's a little bit more to it than that. Somewhere down the line, hopefully, we'll find out the ultimate truth. But a life was taken, and so no other kid died. He did, and maybe he didn't know that his sickle cell would be that devastating with all the running and stuff that he did. But he ran before because they showed him days before on the news just the day where he was running, playing with these guys, whatever. So this time he was really running for his life, they said. So it'll be interesting. And so anyhow, but the greater story tonight and what we're going to talk about, again, we're calling for justice for Justin Johnson, a student at Central Dauphin High School, to make sure that whatever comes down the pike, will be, you know, it will be justice that is well deserved. And is that the father there in the middle with the shirt on?
No, sir. That's Matt Moyer, but that's State Representative Dave Matson and
Yes.
Patty Kim. And I'm not sure who the gentleman is.
Yeah, he's a commissioner. I think he's with the prison system, if I'm correct. I forget, but he's definitely an official. Yeah, that I know the three, other than the gentleman in the middle with the T-shirt. So that's Matt Moyer. Okay.
Yes, sir. He does that news segment on Facebook, Ratchet News.
Oh, that's the guy that does Ratchet News.
Yes,
Okay, I
sir.
remember
Yes,
him.
sir.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the other three are officials, and that was, I guess, at the vigil that they have for Justin. That's what it looked like. It looked like they were at the vigil there.
Yes, sir. It was.
Okay, real good. So anyhow, yeah, so what we're going to talk about tonight, though, is the devastating effects of bullying. And I see people there, and I'm glad that folks showed up and are concerned because too much of the stuff goes on, and sometimes it comes off as if it's play, but it's not play to the person who's being bullied. And when people get away with this stuff, and they do, a lot of times people won't speak up and say, "Hey, I'm being bullied," because they don't want to show that they're not strong or something like that. Uh, Oftentimes, unfortunately, when the bullying is reported, um, the response is such where the people try to smooth it over or get the two to come together and all that stuff, but it's really not resolved. In other words, it just kind of goes away, and the people who are entrusted with reporting this kind of stuff oftentimes see it as something that can be easily solved. And the bully is very, very cunning. Sometimes they lay low for a little bit, then they come back, and they have all kinds of ways of threatening and making people feel uncomfortable and all this stuff and keeping it going. And so we want to make sure that this wasn't a case of a kid really being bullied, being brought in from, he was a relatively new kid, from what I understand. And, he got in with the wrong crowd. A lot of people are saying, I don't know that to be true. I'm just telling you that's what is being said by some segments and different reporting, that these guys were just kids who were just about a whole bunch of nonsense. But when you listen to the news, they're trying to make it sound like it was just a game that unfortunately had a tragic end. Um, it is a wake-up call, if nothing else. It is definitely that. We need to know that bullying has no place in our society, in our schools, in our communities, whatever. And that even when people call themselves playing, and if you don't not sure of what you're dealing with, you can still be held responsible, for causing the death of somebody, especially if you don't know their circumstances, their situation, whatever. We have to be careful what we do. And then they had, first off, I heard it was a pellet gun. Now I heard on the news, well, it was a water gun and this kind of thing. I don't know. We'll find out, and hopefully it won't be whitewashed or thrown up under, swept up under the rug, but truth has to come out. But I really do hope that all of the officials, the schools, the teachers, the administrations, our churches, police officers, everybody will take this issue of bullying very, very serious and harassment very serious. And question these young men who were involved in this thing as to why they felt comfortable, calling racial slurs and stuff like that, if it was only supposed to be a game. And here this poster was out. I saw this today. The administration needs to be held accountable. It says, join the protest on Friday, May 3rd, which was today, at 3 p.m., 600 Rutherford Road, Harrisburg, PA. It says, be the voice for change. Join us in advocating, for positive change by speaking up for the changes we want to see. Protect our students, ensure our safety, justice for Justin. And I'm glad that people are taking this thing very seriously. However it comes out, peaceful protests, asking the questions, knowing that this thing should not have happened. It's a tragedy, to be sure, but the question is, what caused the tragedy? And we really do need to get to the bottom of it. I understand the police are doing their due diligence and investigating, talking to the father, looking at all the video that's out there too, because a lot of video was taken by different students, and even the racial slurs on the video, they have that, what people are saying, and it's this kind of thing. So anyhow, we'll see what comes down. I don't know the family, but my heart goes out to the family, and we hopefully will reach out to them in any way we can to say, if we can help, if we can be of help. and any source of comfort, we'll certainly do all that we can do. We're all going to pray, for the family, the Johnson family, but also we're going to, keep asking questions so that justice is definitely served. So that's what that's all about. So anyhow, and I hope that you, whoever you are, don't just step back and say, well, that's their problem, not ours. I think everyone should speak up in a very peaceful way. I'm gonna say that again, a very peaceful way, and just simply ask questions and say, we are concerned. At least show concern for a young man whose life was taken way too early. And for those young people who are involved in this thing, I'm not out to hang anybody or to, try to crucify anybody, but I do think that, if there was some ill intent, that they should definitely be held accountable. If it was a series of them just playing and, unfortunately, this young man died of a natural cause, or in which the coroner has said he did die of complications from sickle cell, then that's a whole different story. But we'll see, we will see. No rush to judgment here, but a call for justice, a call for clarity, a call to make sure that we use this as a wake-up call. That's what this program is about tonight. We must have justice for Justin, but we must also consider the broader issue, and that is of harassment and also bullying. We got to do it. So let's do this tonight. I'm gonna start off. Brother Chris has already pulled up some videos for us, and I'm gonna ask him to bring up one now, and we'll just kind of look at the issue and see what the poet has to say, and then we'll talk more about some other things going on in the community. But our theme tonight is justice for Justin. Okay. All right. As Brother Chris is pulling that up, here we go.
See, I remember walking down the hall in school. The kids used to pick on me like it was the greatest thing to do, and I didn't know was it my shoes or my size. But I could see their hatred for me in their eyes, even when they smile. And sometimes I would ask them, what did I do to make you mad? And some would ball up their fists and say, get out of my face, you really don't want to feel this. So I would just walk away, still struggling to understand what did I do or say to make them hate me. But I was determined. They may shake me, but they'll never break me. And my teachers just don't understand that if I tell, it won't make them go away. It'll just give them a bigger reason not to like me. And I swear, I didn't do or say anything to make them mad. But tell me what it is and I'll gladly make it go away. Because I want to take away their and my pain. So I'll harbor the blame. Just tell me what it is and I'll make it go away. But it's me or my looks. Because they never gave me a chance to see if I was cool. I guess because I didn't hang with the cool kids, they consider me someone bad or an outcast, but I'm really not all that innocent. Because I like to tell jokes, and I also like to read. In my clothes, my parents just don't have the money. So that's why I stay focused, hoping to get a degree so one day I can get me a job and make me some money. But they may shake me, but they'll never break me. And my mom and dad don't get it. They think if I just ignore them that they will go away. But I've tried their suggestions and it don't work. And I'm tired of getting my feelings hurt. So sometimes I want to fight back just because I can't change what it is that they feel that I lack. But I know that violence won't get it. And I'm starting to see that those kids are just like me. They trying to make friends, so to kick theirs, they try to pick on me to hide their insecurities, so they try to create something in me. They may shake me, but they'll never break me. And see, I learned several ways to deal with bullies. The first one is to see if my friends are their friends and see if they can talk to them to get them to leave me alone because friends listen to friends. And the second one is to talk to the bully when they're alone, but approach them in respect and don't do it around their friends because it might turn into a big old mess. And the third is if it's you being hit or hurt, you gotta tell someone. Cause your safety at risk. And keeping your mouth closed don't mean that they're gonna unfold their fists. So safety come first. Your life is the key. You can try all the ways that I'm suggesting on ways to deal with bullies, but remember, when you're being hurt, you gotta tell someone. See, they may shake me, but they'll never break me.
That's very powerful. Yeah, thank you. That's a good one. Yeah, that brother really said a lot of things that we have to consider. One, you have to tell someone. And you know, one of the best ways of stopping a bully is to expose the bully. You know, when a lot of times people do things and they get away with it because the other person's afraid to speak up. And when you're afraid to speak up, then you just become a bigger target. And so you got to tell somebody. And you know, if that person doesn't act, especially if they're a person that's in power and you know has the power to do something about it, and they don't act, then go to someone else. Go a little bit higher if you can, over that person's head, or you know, go to someone who you know, or at least you hope will act on your behalf or speak up on your behalf. Seen it happen a lot of times, you know, and sometimes people get bullied and they suffer in silence. And then we find them with gun in hand going into a school, shooting the place up because they're angry. It's happened at so many places, too numerous to mention, really, in terms of names. You know, Columbine immediately comes to mind, but you know, there were so many different incidents where someone felt they were bullied or outcast, and they decided to seek their revenge on everybody, just going to start shooting. So yeah, you have to speak up, and you know, and don't just take it. You know, tell somebody, and they may not stop them right away, but enough pressure put on them, you know, hopefully it will. The other thing is, a lot of times bullies are bullies because no one fought them back. And so, you know, he said, I wanted to sometimes take the matters in my own hands and, you know, fight them. And, you know, that may not be the best thing to do. You may not be able to beat this person. And maybe it's not, you know, just one person. I've actually seen a group of kids more than a few times jump on one kid. I'm talking about, you know, 10, 15 people at a time. And they're kicking this kid and punching this kid. And, you know, we had to rush in there to try to rescue the kid. And you say, what in the world? How did this happen? And so that mob mentality can kick in. And everyone, you know, just starts thinking that you're sort of a plaything, you know, and they're kicking and this and that. They don't know one kick, one punch, you know, could end your life, you know, hit in the wrong place. And then you fall down and hit your head, you know, you never know. People have got to think, and all this nonsense about harassing and making, you know, people your little toy. You know, you got to pay. You got to pay for that kind of nonsense. Parents are being held responsible now. You know, there was a young man who went to school not long ago, I guess about a year ago now, shot up a lot of people. A lot of people died. And both parents were put on trial in just last month, back in April there. And both parents end up getting significant time because they helped, you know, they bought the kid the gun for one thing. And then also they didn't heed any of his warnings. He was telling them that he needed help. And they just seemed to, you know, brush it off. And he probably needed help for a lot of different reasons. And bullying was probably front and center for all of, you know, what happened to him and what he was going through. He was different, you know, and also he's mentally disturbed, but he was different in his eyes. And so the kids, you know, didn't befriend him and did all kinds of things. So he went in there, they were all his enemy. You know, he just went in to kill as many people as he could. I mean, come on, we have to listen to and understand what people are going through. And we can't just give them the brush off. We can't just tell them, oh, you know, learn how to fight back, boy. You know, just don't hang around with those kids anymore then. No, that doesn't work, you know, because the bully doesn't stop until they're stopped, and they have to be stopped. And also this whole gang thing, this, you know, 4 or 5 kids at a time, with Justin running for his life, apparently. And now they're trying to make it sound like it was just a good game. But why would he call his dad and call his mom and all that? Something is just not right. I don't know, you know, what it is. But I know yesterday in the paper, it says, we want a full investigation. Do not close the book too soon. Lawyers urge when it comes down to, and this is the Patriot News when it comes down to, this issue for justice for Justin. You can see the blooms and all that. Brother Crystal showed us some pictures from it. So we have to be really careful. It did say that hundreds of students gathered at Coons Park in Lingelstown. That was Tuesday night to remember Justin Johnson. So, it was great to see all these people rally to understand the magnitude of what's being said. But I can tell you that, if it was just a game, again, how does the racial part come in? How do you, say all this stuff? And where did that come from? I mean, you have to ask that question. Young man, whoever, whichever one it was, and maybe it's more than one. If this guy is supposed to be your buddy, your friend, you went to his house, y'all trying to play a game. Where did that come from? And why? Who's teaching you that stuff? Why do you think that stuff is easy and acceptable? In 2024. Come on now, we can do better. We can do a whole lot better than this. And so, I call all writers and poets and all the artists out there, we need to speak up more on these kinds of issues. We shouldn't have to wait for some young man to die. And we have 1,001 questions about why he died, or a young lady dying. And then, we should be asking ourselves these questions and talking about these things at all times, because it is a tragedy. That life was not ordained and put on earth to just end like that. Come on now. God had a plan, I bet you, for that young man. And then circumstances step in, and just tragic, very, very tragic. And so, whatever we do, let's not sweep it under the rug. And no, I don't, I'm not calling for the other kid's head and all that kind of stuff. But I am saying that they have to face the consequences of the action, if the actions were intended to be malicious, and if they truly were trying to, hurt this kid, harm this kid in some way, then yeah, it has to be held. So anyhow, again, I feel for the father, Mr. Orville Johnson. The father, Justin, said he speaks during a news conference on Wednesday outside his home, and he did call. I think, from what I was told, I did not see his news conference, but I was told that he also was calling for everyone to be calm and to, let's make sure we get all the facts out. Let's know exactly what happened. And, he is heartbroken, of course, but he does not want, people to just go into some rampage and start doing things that's going to further divide community. We just don't need that. We really, truly don't need that. But when you put things in historical context and you say to yourself, well, why did this happen? Has this happened before? It has. Has this stuff been swept under the rug before? It has. So we have a tremendous history in this country of stuff like this happening and then easily explained away. And nothing, people don't get justice at all. In fact, there was a celebrated cases recently where one of the police officers who was involved in the hazing of two African-American men, and one of them ended up getting shot in the mouth by one of the police officers. And so all these officers are, facing a trial, but one of them got probation. That's all. They really did these guys up. They really beat these guys and, harassed them and just tortured them for a period of time. And again, one of them got shot in the mouth by one of the police officers. Can you imagine? And what was that crime? As far as I can tell, nothing. They were just wrong place, wrong time, picked up and, tortured. What? Yeah, does that happen in 2024? You bet you it does. And how about this? We only know about the things we know about, but there's probably so many different stops and incidents and things that take place every single day that you never hear about because it doesn't make the news. It doesn't appear in the newspapers, doesn't appear in the TV or anything like that. It's just there. And so the person who is harassed or beaten or, subject to all of this stuff, if they don't speak up and tell the story, some of them are afraid to speak up because they're thinking, well, the police, they're always winning. Then nothing's going to happen to them. So they're afraid to speak up. And therefore, that story just goes, we don't even know about it. And more than likely, there are more incidents like that than there are about, what happened to, poor young man, Justin. Yeah, we know about his case because of the tragic end. But how many people have been harassed and picked on and all that, and we never know their story or their torture, their mindset, or what they have to go through, every single day. anyhow, that's where we are. And, it is coming. Again, it's just a shame. I would read some of my stuff tonight. And also, I do want to mention again, we had this sister on, once her name is Samet George. I want to mention her book again. Few Are Chosen. Uh, what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story of triumph over a tremendous tragedy, a life, threatening event of cancer, and people saying, this is it, but God steps in. And she wrote a fantastic book, by the way, and it's a true story. And I have to give UPMC all the credit in the world. They really got behind her because she literally, was dealing with UPMC in terms of her illness. But then when her recovery took place, the doctors were just amazed, at all that she went through. And not just because of her health, but because of other issues in her life where, tremendous stress was upon her. And she had to deal with a lot of things, in life. At the same time, she was fighting for her life with cancer. And look at her now. She's, cancer free. She's traveling all over Pennsylvania and probably other parts of the country. And she was just our keynote speaker, in fact. Was it last Friday or Friday before last? 2 Fridays ago, I think it was, when she spoke down in, actually last Friday, down in Columbia, Maryland, for all of the chaplains across the state of Pennsylvania who worked for UPMC. And she was the keynote speaker and did a bang-up job, And so hats off to Samet George. Like you said, few are chosen. But she says also in the little byline here, it said, it's an honor to be selected by God. Think about that. She was selected by God to give testimony to the power of God and what he can do. Cancer had it had resonance at one time, but it did not have the final say. The cancer had to go, and God stepped in. So she was definitely chosen, no question about it. And we also featured her on Life Esteem. If those of you follow our program on channel 21, CBS WHP TV 21. It's a CBS affiliate, and it's early Sunday mornings, 6 p.m. Get up and check it out, or just DVR it as we do. We tape them all and then watch them later. But it's a tremendous. If you get a chance to go back in the archives somehow and see that interview with Samet George and her husband, it was a great interview and well worth it because it lets you know that God is still moving, still working, still making things happen. She is a walking miracle, to be sure. And so God bless her. Anyhow, let's talk about this thing about bullying. So I do know that my sister-in-law, Deborah Gadsden, she was trained as an anti-bullying specialist, and she's worked with different school districts. She is a social worker by training and a licensed social worker at that. And so she really got into this whole thing about bullying because it was really pervasive in our society. Hey, I've been rescued. There's Ro. Ro, how you doing?
Good. I'm all out of sorts. My computer is having major problems, so I'm on my phone.
Oh,
Can't always see you.
okay. I'm just glad to see you on. Thank you for coming on. And are those new glasses? No, are they?
Yeah, they are new.
Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, they're very nice. Cool.
Thank you.
Anyhow, thank you again for being a judge for AXO. And appreciate you big time. And so I thought the award ceremony went over very nicely. And we had 10 young people from our area, win gold medals. So that means they will be traveling to Las Vegas to compete against some of the best and the brightest in the country. And there you go. There's a picture of uh, a lot of the students, not all of them, but a lot of students who attended the award ceremony. And then you see some elected officials there, George Hartwick, Dave Mattson, and others. And then also you see Damali Brunson, who's closest to the picture, and she has the gold shirt on there. Then you see Kaba Brunson, sort of in the middle. Kaba is the father of Damali, and then also he is the area chairperson as well as the state chairperson for the AXO competitions. And so it was a glorious night, and I was glad to see that they honored Kaba for 25 years. He's put into AXO and has taken kids all over this country to participate in the national competition. So it's a great thing. And someone said to me today that they have never, until they actually came to the award ceremony, and they said they kind of stumbled on it because they had never heard of AXA. And this is someone who's really involved in community. And he said, hey, we got to do a better job of really promoting that. I said, well, there's been a lot of promotion of it and everything. I was just surprised that he had not heard of it, but it happens, it happens. One other thing I'll say real quick, Ro, is I hope that you'll go down to the State Museum on the first floor, not the first floor when you first walk in, but on the first floor. They have an exhibit, and I know I'm gonna mess up the title. It's called something like a place for everyone, everybody, something like that. Have you seen that exhibit?
No, what's it on?
It's on integration and what African Americans had to go through in the area here in central Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania. It is unbelievable. I mean, that has been there for 2 years. I did not know it. I've been going in there for what, the last 2 years? I mean, at least 6 to 8 times a year, major programs. And I'm standing there talking to the lady about, something, and I look over and I saw this big framed poster along with some other posters. And I said, well, hey, I didn't know about that. And she said, oh, that's been here for 2 years. They had a big gala opening of it. And so I said, well, I need to go up and see that. And I'm telling you, it is an outstanding exhibit, and they don't pull no punches. I mean, it's like, whoa. Yeah. Yeah, so please check it out.
There's a sign?
Say it again.
There's a sign?
Right, when you first walk into the museum, that's look right there at the back wall, and you'll see on the left-hand side, because it's like 3 or 4 major, I'll call them posters, but signs, and it has pictures. And so I'm like, how did I miss that? I mean, there's no way I did. So anyhow, I was talking to one of the workers there, and he started giving me the sort of history of it. He's one of the guys that always helps us out whenever we have a program. And he said, Reverend, let me tell you something. And I won't mention all the stuff tonight, but he broke it down. He said, come on. And when I was there, the only kids that were there, the only people that I saw in the museum were all from these Mennonite schools. And so I think I saw maybe 2 African-American students, but the rest of them were all white Mennonites with the little hats on and everything. And they were checking it out, I'm sure they had some issues and some thoughts, but I was like, wow. And the one thing that really got me was that's this huge like TV screen, old-fashioned TV, and has some people in there who were, back in the day saying, I don't ever want to live next to a black person, like Negroes, and Negroes, if they move into our community, I'm moving out. And I don't want my daughter or my sons to be, interfaced with them. And I mean, these were real people being interviewed on the streets of Harrisburg. And so it's right. I mean, and it's really, you hate to see it in one sense, but I'm like really proud of the museum that they took the leap of faith. I would expect to see that in an African American museum, but to see that here in Harrisburg, I'm like, what? How did I miss it? I'm just floored. So I'm saying to everybody, if you have not been to the State Museum lately and you're thinking, oh, it's just the same old, it's not. Please go down and check out the first floor. They have a tremendous also group of pictures of women, a whole hallway that goes straight around. But then when you go back into the, I don't know how to explain it, but you go up the steps and then you go back and just look for the exhibit, a place for everyone or something like that. It's narrow. It's not whitewashed. And I understand, I think there was a white scholar who decided to approach the museum about that and put it up. And it didn't pull no punches, I'm telling you. So anyhow, I just want people to know about that. Yeah.
No, I didn't know it existed. That's like the black bookstore that didn't ever know it was here for 2 years.
Yeah. And I hope that they get stronger. I like the bookstore. And someone said to me, well, that's not really a black bookstore because they had all kinds of books, whatever. But no, but it's predominantly black bookstore. I think it is. And I hope that, they will get more traffic in there, more people, and maybe get some a black author to come in that really is an attraction and, bring more attention to it or something like that. Yeah. So, because right now still the Midtown Scholar Bookstore, which I wish we could have a better relationship with again, they really bring in everybody. They've been bringing in poets and all kinds of black writers and writers of all genre, races and everything else. So they had the money to do it, and they're doing it. I have to give them credit, you know. Yeah.
True.
Um, so hey, listen, we're talking tonight. We're dedicating a program tonight against anti-bullying. You are a school teacher, and you've been a school teacher now for 900 years. So okay, this is joking. Okay. But anyhow, you've been a school teacher for a long time, right? And
Mhm.
so talk about what you've seen as far as how does the school districts and I just
Uh,
yeah, how do they
I,
handle that bullying thing?
I was so motivated. I have a poem to read tonight, just
Wonderful.
dedicated. Yeah,
Wonderful.
I
Good,
do.
good, good. Okay.
But I have mixed feelings, very
Okay.
much. Um, and because I was, first of all, I retired from that school,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
oh, I guess this was at the top of the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
Um, I spoke to the school board. There were,
Mhm.
and this is when I still knew a lot of the students who were going to school there,
Yeah.
and I ran into a bunch of the students, and because they used to come and tell me everything, even
Uh-huh.
students I didn't have because I was the only black teacher,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and like, and I remember the principal saying, "Mrs. Brady, you're not their mother," and I'm like, "No, I'm not their mother, but I look like them, so we we can communicate that way."
You said you're not their mother.
Yes, it's one of the principals had told me,
Yeah.
who will remain nameless.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was always I was always on the soapbox when it came to the kids that I knew were not necessarily being treated. I don't want to say they weren't being treated fairly, but yeah, I guess I do want to say they weren't being treated fairly
Right
in
on.
some aspects. And I knew oftentimes, it was sort of they were feeling as though it wasn't racially motivated. But it's kind of like you can sense that when it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they come tell me about what was happening between them and other students.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, now hold on. Now Theo's calling me. I'll be right back and we could finish this
Okay,
conversation.
real good. Definitely want to hear that. Okay. Appreciate that. Yes, indeed. And if you don't know Ro Brady, she's married to Theo Brady. And Theo's doing a lot of work now in DC with the president. He's someone who is an advocate for people with, I would say disabilities, but and I'm not sure what the proper term is, but just to say disabilities. Theo's wheelchair bound, but a tremendous leader and a great person. And so anyhow, both Ro and Theo just make a dynamic couple for this community. But anyhow, so I definitely want to hear from her because, as she said, she taught in the Central Dauphin School District for years, and also she's worked in a lot of different school districts as a substitute teacher as well, and so she has a really good perspective on how this stuff can be happening, and then people paint it in a certain way in order to make it seem as if, oh, it's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal, and it causes a lot of problems. And those who know. I remember once I worked for Department of Education for some 17. Okay, Rose back, so I'm gonna get her
All
back
right.
in here. Yeah.
What was I saying? And the kids would come to me about all these issues. I remember at one point there was a pastor who was subbing for the day,
Mhm.
and he had cafeteria duty. I had a free period. I had a prep period, and this person knocked on my door. Oh, came to the door, and I'm like, "Were you lost? Can I help you with something?" I wasn't expecting anybody coming,
Yeah. Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it dawned on us why the kids told him, "You need to go to room 136 and meet Mrs. B."
Okay.
And then when he
Mhm.
got there, we just stood there looking at each other like, hmm. Then it dawned on us suddenly. I
uh,
said, "Them kids of mine, wait till I see them next period." They
uh,
told him to come see me because they had never seen a black sub in the building before, and they wanted us to meet. So this
wow.
knew
Mhm.
how things were. But
Yeah.
on
And
on this particular issue,
uh-huh.
you know me, I'm a little fly on the wall. That's where I get a
Mhm.
lot of stuff from.
Mhm.
Is what the kids were saying really disturbed me because
Yes.
they and these were ninth graders. where there's this, you know how every year, often there's always these new fads that kids are doing.
Yes.
Where there's this new fad called tag, and I don't even know how it goes, and I didn't even want to know how it went.
Right.
Apparently, they were playing this tag thing.
Mhm.
Now, my thing is, whenever you do something where it causes bodily harm to someone, it is no longer a game.
Amen.
It is no
Yeah.
longer,
Mhm.
and when you're doing it to a point where you're getting someone who, let's put it this way, of a diverse background
Yes. Mhm.
to be so incredibly frightened out of their mind, there is more to that than just a game.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And by
So
the
there
way,
was
why are they
that in
calling the
just this game.
racial slurs that was on tape too? They have
Yes,
the racial slurs. What is that about? You know?
yes. And
Yeah.
they
So
were saying they were making reference to this game, and they were saying people got it all twisted. It had nothing to do with race. They didn't get it. It all had to do with the game, and they were just upset over the game. So they're what's making me so upset is the fact that kids they've become immune to this happening. It's like, oh well, it happened because they were playing the game. Oh well, he lost the game. He's gone now. I mean, literally, it just made me infuriated because these kids
yeah.
weren't. And I sit in school,
Mhm.
and I listen to conversations between kids, and sometimes it just gets me to a point like, where have we gone wrong? Like,
Yeah.
here's
Mhm.
here, here's another conversation I heard, which is another point of how we are looking at. I don't even know if you want to call it. It's not even a racial slur. It's more of a thing that has occurred, which needs to stop. You know that term. How's it go? How you doing, my nigga? That term.
Yeah. 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 Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
here's what I listened to, and I
Mhm.
kept thinking, like, first of all, we need to get rid of that term, even if it's between the same race.
Oh yeah.
We
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But there's an Asian student and a black student. Now picture this.
Mhm.
The black student is coming into the room, and the Asian student says to the black student, how you doing, my nigga?
Mhm. Mhm.
And he shakes his hand, and they're okie dokie. And I'm going like, oh Lord, oh Lord,
Yeah.
where did that go so terribly wrong?
Yeah. Mhm.
Why?
What if another black student had heard that and took exception to it? You know, what would happen?
Yeah,
And I've seen that played out before, you know. Remember when J-Lo on the record actually used the word, and then all of a sudden everybody was jumping on like, oh, wait a minute, what you doing here? And this was black rappers saying, you know, hey, wait a minute, you know. And so, but then people said, well, but you use it all the time. You say the same thing. And then she's dating a black guy. So what's it? You know, it's just crazy.
yeah.
And it's like, people that defend that I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Oh,
So mm,
infuriating. That's just
mm,
like when I was a contractor teacher. I had a
mm,
relationship with my kids. Like if I saw them in the hallway, I could say to them, "Get your butt to class. You won't be late, and I don't even want to be having to deal with you when you get another detention. Get your butt to
uh-huh.
class."
All right.
And they accept because they knew I was keeping them out of trouble. They knew I talked to them more than Mama would talk to them. I
Mm-hmm.
never went bored, but they were like, "Yeah, Miss B, I'm going, Miss B, I'm going," and that would
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
And they would come to my class, and that was the dialogue. We had this comfortable flow of a dialogue.
yeah.
Now, a teacher who did not look like them attempted to have the same dialogue.
Mm.
That they ruffled their feathers
Wow.
and come to me and say, how do you have this dialogue with the kids
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it sounds so natural? And I'm like, because I look like them.
Okay.
I said,
And
because
did you say early on that you were the only black teacher in
boy,
the district at the time?
not in the district but in my building.
In your building? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the kids I didn't even have would come to me. My kids that I had would
Mm-hmm.
say, Miss B.
Mm-hmm.
So they would all come to me, like kids that I didn't even teach.
And you were in high school or you were in middle
I was,
school?
I was in high
High,
school.
high
Mhm.
school. You were the only black teacher in high school. That's
And
unbelievable.
I was the only black staff member in the building. I mean, not even
Oh, wow. Mm.
janitorial service. did they have anybody black? Nobody. I was one.
Yeah, yeah, unbelievable.
So,
And,
I
see,
mean,
and then when they think that somehow when these kids are saying these things like, oh, well, they were just all playing. No, I don't think they call themselves playing at all.
oh, and these kids that we're having this conversation, and I'm sitting there listening to them, and I'm thinking, honey, you really just don't understand the implications of what
No,
happened. You don't
no.
understand there's someone who died over this. You don't
Yeah.
understand the next person. You don't
Mhm.
understand. I mean, I literally wanted to say that, but I'm no longer a contracted teacher. I don't really have those relationships with kids like I did before because I'm in and out of different buildings. Now there are a couple of kids that I do develop those relationships with. Like kids are like, "Hey, Miss B, you back today?" I'm like, "Yeah,"
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
know that if I were there every day, I
Yeah.
could have the conversations because I had a conversation with two young men, I'd say maybe about 2 years ago, and they were
Mhm.
used N-word between themselves and the
Yeah.
between themselves. They were doing this project, and the
Mhm.
teacher left me a note saying that they were going to be using like a lot of technology in the class, like their cell phones, they had cameras, they
Okay.
had, because it was the nature of the project. So
Mhm.
these two kids were doing something on a Chromebook, a project, and it had to do with sports. And all of a sudden, the one threw the F bomb. And he said,
Wow.
and I'm like, and I walked over to them because I'm still
Mhm.
monitoring what they're doing. I said, "Is
Yeah.
this part of the project?" He said, "Yeah." And never even thought about apologizing for what he said.
No.
So now, wait a minute. He got, and I said to him, "I did not appreciate the language. That is not necessary for what you're doing."
Mhm.
After the class was dismissed, I kept these two young men and I said to them, I said, when you use language like that, it gives the world the impression that you are what they think you are.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Amen to
I
that.
knew that something clicked. They apologized. Now that was just merely maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Now
Yeah.
here's what you're getting in classrooms today. You're getting them, they don't even realize the inappropriateness of it. They throw
Right.
the F bomb, they're cussing up and
Heartbeat. Yes. Yes. But let me ask you this here now with the whole hazing thing, because again, we know that it's been the bullying. I don't want to call it hazing. The bullying has just been rampant. In fact, I remember doing a lot of work with the Harrisburg School District. We literally took a whole group of kids down to Baltimore, and that's a fantastic, and I want to say artistic boot camp that dealt with social issues. And so we took the kids there and spent a significant amount of time. And then we came back to Harrisburg and we were up at Camp Curtin School. And these people came up and did a whole thing on anti-bullying. And this one kid came up to me, he said, "Sir, I'm being bullied right now. We're in this here, assembly." He said, "And this kid is really picking on me. So what should I do?" So I had to, we reported to get the whole bit. But the point is, even at a rally, at a assembly, about anti-bullying, this kid decided he's gonna, do something just to show off. How prevalent was it when you were in school? And then what did the administrations actually do? And even with what's going on now, do you think the administration gets it that these kids and these parents are really upset, even if it
no,
was a play? What do you think? Okay.
that happened. Oh, this was maybe earlier in the school year where I was in this wasn't high school, this was middle school.
Mhm.
And I was in a classroom. It was the kids were, didn't really have any major behavior problems. Things
Mhm.
were going well. And the one student, as soon as he spoke, I knew I was dealing with somebody who had Asperger's, simply just because some of the things he was saying.
Mhm.
But he was somebody who I don't know, like had some hygiene issues.
Okay.
Yeah. And the kids teased him. The one kid continued. And I said to him, I say, "You say one
Mhm.
more word, and I'm
Mhm.
sent to the office." And he
Yeah.
gave me this look like,
Mhm.
You know, like I'm on the edge. I'm
Yeah.
of saying something. And I'm just one more word. And he knew I was serious. So he just closed his mouth and didn't say anything. But I gave
Oh,
him a look, letting him know, I don't care that I'm the substitute. I will remove you from this classroom and I will make sure that a
mm,
parent is called about what you're saying.
all right.
I didn't, bite my tongue about it.
Mhm.
But what really disheartened me was I kept the student that was being teased. And I
Mhm.
said to him, what I need you to do is if that happens again, I said, because I won't be here tomorrow,
Yeah.
is I need you to go straight to an administrator and I need you to tell an administrator, even if you have to bypass your teacher, tell
Mhm.
an administrator and
Yeah.
go home and tell parents. So the
Okay.
teacher comes back because I was only there for half a day. She comes back and I told her exactly what I said to both of the students.
Mhm.
I was disheartened because she said, yeah, it's been an ongoing thing. I'm like, ongoing,
Yeah.
meaning it's continuing to happen. Somebody needs to nip this in the bud. I said, do you know that there are kids committing suicide because they're being teased? And now you're
That's
dealing
right.
with who has Asperger's?
Mhm. Mhm.
And the sad thing about it was the kid said, well, it's true. I don't like to take a bath. And I
Yeah.
went to him, I said, okay, honey,
Mhm.
but you don't need to be teased about it.
Yeah.
Like there's some sensory issues going on with him about the bathing, which I
Yeah.
get Asperger's,
Mhm.
but it's that sensitivity. Someone needs to do a sensitivity training with, and I hate the term regular education students,
Mhm. Mhm.
but for the lack of a better term, kids that are not enrolled in special education or kids are not living with Asperger's or some other type of disability,
Yeah.
because it frustrated me that the first of all the kid said, yeah, it's true, I don't like to take a bath, so I do smell.
But with that addressed though, now I have a problem with that one if because the school needs to address that. You have a nurse there, you have parents, teachers meetings, stuff like that. You can't just come and smell it and then think it's
Yeah,
okay. No.
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot that, and then that was exactly my point, that there
Mhm.
were a lot of issues that were
Mhm.
happening that no
Yeah.
one's have addressed on
Oh,
both
yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all.
sides.
Wow.
And the teacher, after reporting this, and I was so glad that she came back because she was gone to an in-service that was part of the school day, and me sharing this with her. But it was whatever she said ongoing, that infuriated me too, meaning that this just didn't have, it was not a one-time incident, it's ongoing.
No, it's
So why is
ongoing.
that
And she felt comfortable, as just say, it's just something that's ongoing. That's
on?
wrong. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
I'm like,
So let's do this here though. We're gonna take another break and have a video. Brother Chris brought up some videos that address this whole thing of bullying and harassment. And we saw
uh-huh.
one already, so I'm gonna ask Brother Chris to do this next one. And then we'll come back. And I'm so glad that Ro Brady is on tonight. She's a fine author and has her own business. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Okay, here we go.
The title of my poem is Bullying. Do you know what bullying is? Well, I know firsthand what bullying is. Being pushed around for no reason, having your things taken from you, being called shaming words, stupid, ugly, idiot. It's having your heart torn into little pieces, crumbled like a sheet of paper, hard to straighten out. Bullying is going to the restroom and bawling for what seems like hours, having all your joy taken from you, having it turned into gloom. Bullying is being beaten mentally and physically. It's malicious, poisonous, deadly. Bullies hate because they think you owe them something. I know both sides of bullying. I was a bully. But then I got a wake up call. No more bullying for me. But then bullying came my way. If bullying is at your school, say something, do something about it, because you most definitely don't want to be bullied. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. She nipped in the bud. You don't want to be bullied. And say something. That's the other thing. What happens when kids said something? I know they came to you, but did the administration, in your estimation, respond appropriately? Did you even have a policy in place about, what should happen?
Well, see, a lot of these cases go through the SAP, the Student Assistant Programming. They
Okay.
have pumped up their SAP programs. Now, I used to be a SAP team member, and when you had kids who were, being bullied, and you had the kids who were doing the bullying, you tried to do, like an intervention. There's a lot of intervention strategies you do. And I think schools have gone to back to that format of looking at what's causing you to feel this way and doing more like sessions on and they've developed a lot more curriculum on
Mm-hmm.
being. And I remember when I was at St. Stephen's on the playground, going back to what had been taught to us as far as being a SAP team member, I found it to be most useful, of approaching both kids and first of saying, trying to get them to ask them, how would it make you feel if I said these words to you? How would it make? And
Mm-hmm.
forget really to get them to go to a head place to think about why they were saying it.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
um and I found that, with younger kids, that really really made them stop and think. And to reiterate that, social emotional learning should be part of every curriculum. And I think now they're doing it a lot in the elementary schools, but I don't know if it carries over in the high school, because I
Yeah.
feel like they believe that by the time kids get to high school, that social emotional learning doesn't necessarily have to be part of their curriculum.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think
but yeah, but it needs to be. I mean, because there's a lot in certain schools. I'm not gonna say, all schools or anything like that, but there's a lot of bullying going on. There's a lot of harassment. I remember one young person ended up going to, prison, literally, directly from school because all the nonsense was going on. But it started in the school. Everyone I talked to that knew of the person, just talked about how they did so many crazy things and they was doing this, doing that. But so it's evident, very obvious to anybody that cared to see this person was, crying out for help and was causing problems for a lot of the students. And so the question became, well, what did the administration do? What did the school do? What could they do? Kind of thing. And I also remember doing the after school program where actually I was a counselor at Sci Tech at one point. And I never forget where they said there were 20, I think it was 28 or maybe 48, something like that, students in the entire school district that they identified as causing probably about 80% of all the problems that they had to deal with. And they said, literally, if we eliminated some of these students, which they started doing, by the way, I forget her name, but she used to work for Big Brothers Big Sisters. She left there and then she became the truant person or whatever they call it, but like a judge. And they had expelled, not just, suspended, but expelled something like 36 or 37 different students in a period of time. And then they said, let's check Central Dauphin, Susquehanna Township, all these other school districts. How many have they expelled? It was like 2, 3, or 4. We
Mhm.
had 36, and it's like, why are so many students being, because they were just doing crazy stuff. And the person said, quite frankly, we could have expelled even more, because some of these kids just didn't give a darn, you know, and they were bullying other kids. I'm standing there. I'm one of the so-called monitors up at the old middle school when it was over there. They said it was in Susquehanna Township actually, but up off of the Hirsch, the bypass, and that's when the
Mhm.
middle school is. And so we had the IMC and the Denominational Ministers Conference had gotten together with the school district. We talked about all the things that needed to happen. And so they said, well, we could use more ministers to come into the school and just be there, and talk to the students and help us to, whatever. So I'm standing in the hallway and doing my little duty thing. And I see this boy come in and he comes in and he walks right up to this other student and they drop the books and they start fighting. But I noticed that the boy came in to the building. So, and everybody's like, step back. No, you can't touch him. No, this kind of stuff. And I remember the different teachers flying over there and they were trying to talk him down. This boy had just gotten suspended from the school that morning. His dad had to come up and get him. His dad went off on him about his attitude and all this kind of stuff. The boy goes home with his dad. His dad goes back to work. He comes back to the school. And they said he had to walk a pretty good distance to get to the school. And so he comes back to the school because he's going to get this boy, you know. And so they end up calling the cops, and the dad was just too through with him. It was just crazy. And what was it about? It was nothing more than a bullying situation where the bullied kid decided to fight back. He was tired of being bullied and was telling everybody that this kid kept picking on him, trying to take his stuff, whatever. And this kid decided, oh, you're going to try, oh, come on. And there it was, you know. And I could tell you story after story after story, even
Well,
when I was a student, you know. Go ahead. Mhm.
I could too. Now, I even remember at one point now
Mhm.
was, oh gosh, like I said, 900 years ago when I taught at
Mhm.
school at the bypass when it was the
Mhm.
original robot.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
issue where you had a parent who had just been released from being incarcerated, and you had a student who threatened a teacher,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the teacher called the parent thinking she was going to get some support there.
Mhm.
And the father had just been released out of prison. He came to school with a baseball bat, saying, asking, coming and trying to come into the building and asking which teacher talked to my son that way. So when you
Come on.
have that kind of thing happening, where is the
Mm.
role model for the child?
Yes.
What expect the child to be like?
Mhm.
What else could we expect from a child whose father gets released from prison and comes to school with a baseball bat in an attempt to hit this teacher to say, why are you talking to my child this way?
Let me give you another one. The teacher is the gym teacher. He's called to the office and told, he's asked whether or not he could call this particular student's parent because the student had really been acting out, blah, blah, blah. So he makes the call. He says to me, he says, I did not have a student in my class. He said he was not one of my students. I was just making the call. And so the mother came up and the mother said, how come I never get a call when he's doing something good, but you always want to call him, blah, blah, blah. And so he said, hey, listen, I was the one that made the call, but I did it on behalf of the principal, assistant principal, whoever, and this and that. So she, came with her attitude, going off, and asked, what did the kid do? So story gets even worse. So she said, well, for now, these people up here don't know how to talk to people. No, 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 no. She said, well, if anything happens again, you call me because I can talk to you, but this. So literally, he said, true to form, within a week, here we go again. He said he didn't see the incident. He didn't know what happened. All he did was made the call, Miss So-and-so. Yeah, he's gotten into it again, blah, blah, blah. She comes up. She's like, I'm sick and tired of you people. And she's ranting and raving. She takes a ballpoint pen or whatever, fountain, what they call those fountain pens, whatever, has that little sticky thing, like that. And she stabs him, boom, stabs the gym teacher who only made the call. He did not have the student. He did not know anything. He just simply said, I'll call because she asked me to call. So he made the call. She comes up, she's talking, and all of a sudden he said, I like just looking over here, she stabbed me. It's like Martin Luther King. They said, had he sneezed, literally, that's how close that pen, he blanks out. He said he literally passed out. And
Well,
his wife was also teaching the district too. And he said, I can't even tell you, man. He said it was like unbelievable. This woman comes in, asks no questions, this and that. She's just ranting and raving with it. Said the board apparently was just tearing it up, just tearing up the school. He said, I remember talking to her the first time. He never asked what the boy even did. You're just so mad at us calling you. I, that's a true story. Luckily enough, he didn't die. He said, but come on. You never saw that in the news. It was in no newspaper, anything like that. He said the pin was sticking straight up in his chest, and they had to take him in there and be very careful at how they took that thing out of there.
yeah,
You
I don't
know,
know what touching.
say it again.
They don't when something like when that happens, you don't know what can't
Yeah,
pull it out.
yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. What was her son doing? He was terrorizing all these other students. He was bullying people. He was doing all kinds of stuff. And so here's this parent, to your point, you know, defending her son, who had no defense. I mean, he was just doing what he did and showed no respect to anybody. And Mobley said, well, I wasn't trying to call his name, but the teacher said, listen, May, man, why don't you get involved in sports? Why don't you do something? Try to talk to the kid. He said he could see the kid had an attitude. He said, okay, but he called the mom, and the mom takes it out on him. Wow. And of course, there was a court case and all that kind of stuff. She got in big trouble, but yeah, people that's almost like attempted murder. I mean,
But
come on.
I don't know. The sad thing about it is, like I'm on the substitute portal, and
Okay.
not offering them now because there's only like less than a month of school left. But for months, we were getting emails for, to take over positions, like looking for permanent sub for, and every day there would be another. So I would sit there and be like, what happened to the teacher that was the permanent teacher there? Where did they,
Yeah.
you know, even I was at one high school and the secretary said, oh, Ro, wait right here. And I'm like, where are you going? She said, I'm going to go get the principal. She said, I wanted to find out if you'd be interested in a permanent position teaching English. I was like, no, no, I would not be interested. I'm happy subbing. I would not want to be a contracted teacher again. There's an ease about coming into a building and following someone else's lesson plan, not having to worry about calling a parent or become involved in the relationship between the parent, administrator, and the child. I don't have to deal about that and I tell the kids, I'm like, I've gone into some, I'm like, no, as the sub, I don't have to put up with any of the craziness. I don't do well, so don't be crazy. Because if you be crazy, is just gonna have to probably gonna be you.
Absolutely. And so here's the thing, this I know I think all school districts probably have a policy about student conduct and behavior, especially when it comes down to bullying and harassing other students, that kind of thing. Has there ever been a time when you saw someone actually have to go to court over that, or the police got involved or anything like that? Because some schools, at one point, I think Harrisburg had it too, had police officers that were in the school building, and then that
Yeah,
became a hot mess, big
they
debate.
yeah, they in the school building now. But I what's really, really happening with a lot of the officers that they have is that they're not so much there patrolling for those issues, as far as fighting. The other big issue is school safety.
Yeah,
They're big
yeah.
that, like I don't know how much, you know, that's their focus.
But here's the thing though, a lot of that school safety stuff comes out of kids who feel like they are being
true,
bullied.
true.
I mean, think about I always say Columbine because that's what I
Yeah.
remember most. But think about all those young people that picked up guns winning because they felt like
Uh,
they were bullied
now
or
how
picked
I
on,
see, let's see how I see those officers operating
hmm
is like in the cafeteria,
hmm
like out cafeteria duty.
Yeah.
They're circulating. They're looking at, especially if you have cafeterias where you've got big glass doors.
hmm
They are they're looking at the kids on the inside, but their big focus now is the safety of the kids.
I
Now
understand that. hmm
I am sure if
hmm
an incident broke out within the school, they have to focus on that too. But I'm seeing
Sure.
this, like going around like you have to teach with your door locked. Now, what
Yeah.
I do, like I leave the door open until like after the bell rings, so I don't have to go back and forth. Well, I had left it as a substitute teacher. I was like, I left the door open until the kids all got in, and then when all the kids after the late bell, I closed the door.
hmm
Well, the officer comes by, the door was open, I'm still taking attendance, and he closes the
hmm
door.
Oh,
And then
wow.
so the kid who comes in late has to knock on the door. And I noticed that policy now is like more reinforced than it
hmm
had years prior.
Okay. Yeah.
like that's their focus. Not that if there's a bullying case happening,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
that to be like their main focus is school
Well,
situation.
and that makes perfect sense because there have been so many shootings in 2023 and even 2024. We've had some incidents here. But let's do this here. I want to make sure you get your poem in because I notice already it's 8:14. And I want you to read your poem, but also I want to get back to the other two videos that Brother Chris has lined up for us as well. So can you share that poem with us?
Sure. Dr. Dan has joined us as well. Do you want to greet him
Oh,
before that, Dr. Gaston?
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Hey,
I've
Miss
never
Rowe.
seen, so he never
Hey,
revealed himself to me. But anyhow, Dan, how you doing?
I gotta turn on the light.
Dan, are you there?
Or
If you
maybe,
are to speak, muted right now, Dan. Yeah, maybe his
okay,
mic.
maybe we'll catch him after the video then.
That sounds good. Yeah, okay, very good.
Alrighty.
All right. So yeah, Sister Rowe, if you wanted to read your piece and then we'll
Oh,
do the video.
yeah. Well, we already know the motivation for this one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Or,
Oh,
sorry.
wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
oh,
Okay, Rowe, you're good.
first, I'm reading, or we showing the video?
So we can read. You can read, and then
Oh,
we'll show the
okay.
video.
Oh, okay. It's called Run Boy Run.
Mm.
Run, boy, run. Run for your life. Run for the color of the skin you were born in. We still here? We still at this place where we thought there was some distance in between a neck and a noose. It's now a matter of the heart, a heart that lost its beat, trying best not to be run down in the street. This color thing is way too much. Does hate live in the marrow of white bones? Can we take a knife to it, cut it to the quick, flush it out like the blue? I got this on a couple of pages. Like the
Mhm.
blue blood philosophy of the privileged? Why does it taint the young? Has it become like a bad habit that can't be broken? Mama used to say that bad seeds make bad apples, and the apple don't fall far from the tree. They
Mm.
still trying to hang us on them trees. We no longer want to be the strange fruit left rotting in the heat of your bitter hate. The stakes are way too high. There are future generations riding on the change. Must we say another name, dig another grave, watch another mother grieve, start another movement? We are holding up our hands. Our mouths are open, still calling yet another name. We need to we need to find another way. Get your knee off our necks. Let us put our hands down. Blood does not have to be shed. Hearts don't have to be broken. There are no more reasons other than for peace sake. Let's not call another name, make another list, or hold up another fist. It don't take all this. Let's not ever hear those words again. Run, boy, run.
That's a good piece. Thank you. We're talking about justice for Justin Johnson, the young man who they say died of sickle cell natural causes, but he was being chased by some quote unquote friends they supposedly were playing tag. And it's a lot of stuff that's swirling around because of the racial slurs that were being said by the young men who were chasing him, and then also the notion that perhaps they were just playing a game and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people upset, and they want to make sure that whatever happened, justice will be served. And that's a picture of Justin Johnson, who just turned 17. He would have been 17 this week, but he was 16 when he passed, and just a few days shy of his birthday. But anyhow, that's what we're celebrating tonight. The notion that there was a young man and that the community cares for this young man, not that it just happened, but people understand that there was a wonderful vigil. There was also a walkout by the students of sent you off at the east, and there's also a meeting today at 3 p.m. To again address these things. And I did hear the news this evening, and the police gave a press conference talking about this game of tag and all this kind of stuff, and all of the different things that could have happened days before even this incident where he was running for his life. So anyhow, that's what we're talking about tonight. But thank you all for coming on. I see Lizelle Powell and I also see Nanette Swanson. And God bless you both for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Nice.
Of course, we have, yes, indeed, we have Ro Brady, who just read that powerful poem. Thank you, Ro, and that was great. And also, Dr. Dan Snowden, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. How are you?
Good, good.
Okay, man. Good.
Thanks
good,
about
good.
yourself.
Say that again.
I'm fine. Thanks. How about yourself?
Oh, good. Thank you, Dan. Very good, man. Glad that you came on. Glad that you came on. Hey, listen, so glad, ladies. I don't know if we decided to just talk about Justin Johnson, but also not just, Justin, but about all the people who have experienced bullying and harassment for no good reason. And especially when people start throwing out racial slurs and stuff, you have to wonder what kind of game is this? But anyhow, that's what we're talking about tonight. But also, we'd like to hear some good poetry. So I do want to turn to first Lizelle, and then also turn to Dan. I know you two always have something. And also, Nanette, did you have anything you'd like to read tonight?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right.
I barely made it on because I'm
Oh,
house
you made it
sitting.
on now.
I'm house
Oh,
sitting. I
yeah.
gotta go to my son's house when I leave here. My house.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm so
Yeah.
glad you took time to come on. So, Lizelle, did you have a piece you'd like to read?
Yeah, I can read something.
Okay. Is it up ready, or do we need to come back to you?
No, it's up.
I'm sorry, say it.
It's up, so I'll read
Okay,
it
good,
now.
good, good. Okay. Well, if you can take it away, I appreciate that.
All right. It's called 1 Million Tears.
Mm.
I wrote that today. Wrote it today. You wrote it today.
Nothing wrong with that.
1 million tears will not be enough if I don't stop myself from being dragged in the mud. To see little boys and girls chosen as toys, taken away their ability to grow slow. To see humans waiting in line at traffic stops, while a child call a child mom, dad, as her belly like swollen bread in the oven as it grows. But he says, hush, hush, no one will know. Here's a cookie, be quiet. 1 million tears that tried to drown me. I thought I couldn't breathe, but I swam in my tears as it flows. It made puddles in my dented soul as I saw my image and every image that caused pain. 1 million teardrops that falls from tired eyes, splashes on the ground, on the dry ground, dead, no sound. That's
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah. Huh. What prompted that, Lizelle?
Just something about a child I was reading, well, listening on the news, and it just kind of resurrected everything that is going on with children, like young children making children, you know, and the children that is being abused that nobody knows about, and they are being sexually abused, and they have to hush their mouth, you know, and the mother is denying everything. She's going to work, working hard, the child trying to talk to her, and she's not paying attention. When you look, it has an oven, it has a bread in the oven. So, you know, it's just basically everything that I saw, you know, on the TV and everything that goes around it with children, not only children, but I supposed to put in teenagers in there, but somehow it just more stayed on the children because they are the weaker ones, the weak links that, you know, we just need to pray for them because I think about my granddaughter, she's 6 years old, and I don't see her as how I should, but I just cry in my heart for her
Yeah.
to be growing up in this messed up world, and you know, you don't know who is who anymore, you know. So
Amen. Amen. Yeah. Yeah. I
it's
appreciate it.
just sad, yeah.
Yeah. As always, though, good writing. That's a good piece. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for sharing that. I want to ask Dr. Dan Snowden to join us to give us a piece as well.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Here's one called Criminal Justice Reform for Wrongful Convictions. Frequently, when so-called justice occurs, the wrong persons will end up behind bars. Actions must be taken on this matter to discontinue what's going too far. The whole problem has one very true source, a botched system of enforcing the law. All elements therein need lots of work for the extent of distrust to start its thaw. In order to end wrongful convictions, a new system must be put into place, one where incompetence, willful or not, gets consequences that hit it in the face. First, there are those lackluster detectives from police forces in many places. They must be dismissed from the profession, thus relieving it of all disgraces. Unscrupulous prosecutors are next. These types of attorneys are a real pain. Disbarment is what these persons deserve. May their lives be rightly flushed down the drain. Crooked judges who get comparable fates for sending innocent people to jail. Removal from the bench truly works best as punishment for preventable fails. One must also account for the jurors, those who provide verdicts at trial's ends. If their acts lead to wrongful convictions, ban their service. That's the message to send. State, county, and local governments must play a critical role in this game, providing funds to mistaken convicts, helping such persons reclaim their good names. These same entities mentioned earlier must create preventive legislation to ensure that no wrongful convictions ever lead innocents to devastation. Thus is my take on this controversy, which is an inexcusable matter. Perhaps the actions I've outlined here could leave blameless lives so much less shattered.
All right. Go ahead.
That's good, yeah.
That's very good. Yeah. Anybody want to comment?
Hey,
Very nice.
thank you. Well, I mean, it is timely in a sense, given that there's another element in there with the prison system and what's going on with Dauphin County Prison, or what had gone there as of late.
Mm-hmm.
Why those individuals died, I don't know.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Very timely. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Well, again, we're talking about all kinds of things, tonight, which we always do, but this program tonight is dedicated to the family of Justin Johnson and to all those persons who have been bullied unjustly and picked on, and seem like nobody, really put a spotlight on their lives and what they've gone through. And I'm so glad we have a teacher on tonight, Ro Brady, who's taught in that particular district, Central Dauphin District, for a number of years, and is now subbing, and is a tremendous writer. And then we have Lizelle Powder, and she is a writer out of, she's in New York there, and also a painter. And we're so glad to have you on, Lizelle. And also Nanette Swanson, who's a writer and also a singer. And, we're so glad to have her on. And then Dr. Dan Snowden, who's a scientist and also a writer. And, we just have some good folks on here with great perspectives. So when it comes down to, the whole bullying thing, have you ever experienced bullying when you were in school, whether it happened to you or somebody else? And did the administration or the community seem to care back in those days? Long, long time ago. But how did you remember bullying being handled when you were in school?
I think we had like a whole different, I don't know, attitude about so many different things. Growing up, more of a neighborhood where if I did something wrong and Miss Sally saw it, by the time you got home, Miss Sally done already told your parents what you did wrong. You know, I think schools were so much different where administrators had so much more pull, you know, and if teacher told your parent you were doing something wrong, you weren't disputing that teacher. You know,
Yeah.
so we lost that aspect where first of all teachers were respected, you know, and listened. So if we were bullying somebody and the teacher knew about it, we didn't have to wait till it got to the administrator because the teacher was going to take care of it. And I
Okay.
think lost we have truly lost that. Like when I
Yeah.
can classroom and I'll say, excuse me, but their language is not appropriate. And they give me a look like, who are you? And keep on cussing.
Wow. Man.
Or lost that because I would have never I wouldn't even have thought about using a cuss word. I was not a kid who cussed. None of the kids I grew up with would have even thought about even using a cuss word in the room with an adult. So it would have never
Yeah.
even do that
That's
part.
changed for sure.
So would have
That's so true.
known the consequences of saying something mean. And I don't even mean physical being a bully. I just mean even saying something mean to a kid. You
Yeah.
know, have their issue. But we would have been made to apologize. And I would have probably have been as far as it went. Not that saying that it didn't happen, but I think what happened as a result of that no longer happens. We don't have those kinds of consequences today.
Yeah, you know, in the case of Justin, and this is something that's been brought up more in more recent years, you know, school has extended. So when kids get out of school and they're going home, if they do something on the way home, school still feels as if it's responsible, or it can be held responsible, or hold you responsible for your actions. So one of the things we know about the Justin situation is that they were chasing him home. They went to his house first off to get him to play this game, they say. And then they end up, you know, chasing the boy back, and he ended up, you know, as we know, dying from the sickle cell. At least that's what the coroner's saying. How was it? You know, let me hear from Nanette and from Lazille, and also Dr. Dan. Nanette, how about you? How was it when you were coming up, and what do you see now? Because I know you have grandkids, and you know your kids are going through the school system and all that. What do you see now in terms of
Well, I
bullying?
mean, it's a whole different ball game, a whole different situation with these kids today because when I was coming up, we were more like a community. We knew everybody, you know, our school, I mean, John Edison, John Harris, we knew most of the people and
She froze.
I think she froze. Yeah,
I
there she goes.
froze.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're good now, though. You're good.
Oh, yeah, I don't, it was just different. I mean, if we had a fight, I mean, it was mostly we were like playing with black kids. We didn't play with white kids. We weren't that's associated with white kids, you know? We were mostly a black community and that's where we stayed.
Okay.
I mean, if we got in a fight, it was with Uptown or on the Hill project, you know, projects versus Uptown, you know,
Yeah.
York, you know, different stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if we had a fight with one another, you know, we put that stick on our shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And
We
there's
were
somebody
knocked off.
they're there to knock it off or something like that. We didn't
Well,
really
fight's a little different
fight.
than this bullying, though. A lot of times, but a lot of times with the bullying situation, the victim doesn't fight back. Is that have you? So did you have a lot of that going on, and you didn't witness
No,
it? Okay.
no.
All right.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
We
How
were
about
more
you?
respectful. We were more respectful as children, you know.
Yeah.
We knew how far to go. You know, we didn't want to get whipped or, I mean, back when the kids were in school, grade school, we used to get paddled and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I did.
So you wouldn't
Not
think of
all,
doing
but
nothing like that this day and time. You wouldn't think
yeah.
of doing nothing like that, but
Oh, yeah. Well, Ro talked about the parent coming up there with the baseball bat. Man, you know, you paddle someone's kid these days, you know, you better know that you just may have a fight on your hands, right? Just
yeah.
crazy. Lazille, Lazille, how about you in terms of, you know, now you grew up in a different culture setting as well, say in high
Yeah.
school and all that stuff. Tell us about it. If was someone was there
Um,
bullying first off in your school?
to me, It wasn't like how it is now, as everyone said, you know, it was basically they will just tease you like, you know, all right, now when I growing up going to school, my shoes sometimes will, you know, it rip across the front. So you used to call the shoes laughing shoes. And I most of the time I see myself going to school with shoes like that, and people would just make fun of your shoes and laugh, and everybody laughing at you. Um, they used to laugh at my name with the powder, so they would tease me every time. I want some powder. Give me some powder. Where you getting Amens? I want Johnson's. You know, it's
Oh, my.
always something. You know, so those are the things I remember growing up with. But like, actually, bullying. Not really. It used to have the ones who always feel that they could tell you something, but there was always somebody there to stand up for you, you know?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that was good. Somebody there to stand up for you. It wasn't really, even though it was being picked on, it had somebody to come to your defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. How about you, Dr. Dan?
Well, it's a similar situation there. Like, although in a lot of instances I went to, well, I was a little different because I went to Catholic schools or private school in this case. So, bullying did occur, but for most parts it wasn't allowed, because you did that to somebody in the schools I went to, then you were put in detention for a while, and it was reported because there are many people who were actually willing to report it. And you also had instances where there would be individuals who would stand up for you from time to time.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, times have changed, that's for sure. I'm going to ask Brother Chris just to make sure we get in a video here, because I'm dying to see the other ones. Yeah. Can you show us another video, Brother Chris, and then we'll come back in and continue with the conversation. That's a picture of Justin Johnson.
Speak up when someone is being disrespectful towards you. Speak up when someone is making you feel uncomfortable. Speak up when someone is causing you pain. Speak up before the negative thoughts start entering your head. Speak up before you start believing in them. Speak up before depression takes over your mind. Speak up and don't take those strange pills. Speak up and don't swallow the whole bottle. Speak up and please go to the hospital now. Speak up before it's too late.
Short and right to the
Good
point.
advice. Yeah. Speak up. Yeah. And that's one of the things you do wonder why so many people don't speak up. And we know reasons why, in terms of being afraid and stuff like that. But I think another part of that is sometimes they think no one's going to do anything. And I know, Ro, you've been in the school district working for years, and tell us about, your experience. And you've already shared some things, and I appreciate that. Did the schools act, you know, did they act on time? Did they act at all?
Was a matter of proof.
With
You
a
know,
matter of proof? Okay.
yeah, like it's so different when it's not a physical fight.
Yeah.
I have been on the playground and witnessed fights and gone back and told the administrator, I don't know what the incident was about, but this is the kid who threw the first punch, and that was the kid they put. Now, when you're talking about being verbally abused and being bullied just verbally, you can take that to an administrator, but oftentimes it's like, how do we have proof? Because what they're going to have to do is report it to the parent. And that's all been one of the biggest issues, and the kid can say, this kid said such and such to me. And not that they won't talk to the student, but it's kind of like harder to, you know, I don't want to say it's harder for them to punish because you're going to get that administrator is going to have to call home and say, this is what I'm finding it's happening. So that's why I was going back to what schools are really doing now because of the evidence of proof that somebody's being bullied. If it's just verbal bullying, is they're putting, especially in the elementary schools, a lot more social emotional learning. They're doing a lot more of that curriculum because of that is so arbitrary with administrators of how to prove somebody's being bullied. So
Yeah.
what they're doing is they're focusing more on why is it happening. We need to give rationale for what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's approaching it. Instead of like, okay, let me give you 3 days of detention for bullying. I don't even know if you really did it, but I'm gonna give you, because they're saying that's not fair either.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
It's different, it's an approach.
Right.
It's more through social emotional learning types of
Yeah.
just now.
You know, there's a lot of playing around. I notice I've been going to this one school. It's like a little private school, and they're not called a charter school at all. And I didn't know they existed until last year, but they've been around. And so anyhow, it's a small group in the 9th through 12th, you know, but a much larger group in terms of the smaller kids. And I noticed even with the interaction with the kids when I'm talking to them, I go on Wednesday mornings at 10 o'clock, and I do an hour with them with this Botvin life skills training. And boy, I can, you know, you can just tell how the mood's going to be. And then one person says something to somebody, and next thing you know, they're added a little bit. And she won't tolerate, she being the person who owns and runs the school, along with her staff, of course, you know, too much. But most times I notice she's not always around, you know, so the kids kind of go at it a little bit. Then it's going to become a he said, she said. And I'm only there for an hour, so I don't see all the stuff. I don't know what happened before, or even what happens afterwards. But, you know, I get right to them. You know, no, we're not going to start playing because we got 1 hour here. I know how that goes. You know, we're going to spend half our time trying to get you two from getting at each other and all that kind of stuff. No, that doesn't happen here. But yeah, it's just the mindset of our youth these days. I mean, the fact that these young men ran this kid down, Justin, down, but then started using racial slurs against him and felt comfortable doing it on tape. And then they put it on Facebook. Come on now. I mean, they have all these different tapes and different versions. So they're taping this whole thing and don't think that's inappropriate.
Wow.
It just makes you, I mean, come on. It just makes you think that, you know, something's wrong. And I'm looking at, you know, now maybe it's just me, but I saw the house that, you know, the young man was running for. I understand they're kind of all neighbors. So these are very, very, I don't want to say affluent, but middle-class kids who are living very well. And this is their mindset? Come on now. You know, we always want to talk about the inner city and those kids, this and that. Yeah, well, this was a suburban neighborhood, and this is the best they could come up with. And the boy dies. Something's out of whack, folks. So what is the solution? Let's talk about that for a little bit, because I know we're going to run out of time. Let me just hear if everybody. And if does anyone have another poem or something they wanted to read, though? Another
Oh,
piece.
I have one that relates to this.
Thank you. Okay.
It's called Under the Rug, and it's more from the child who was being bullied from their aspect.
Okay.
They sent her to school hoping she'd be all right. They didn't know she was all alone. There was no one she called friend. Lunchtime only brought the blues. She was smart, but nobody stopped to see that. All she ever wanted was to be free. She tried to find her worth in the eyes of her peers. They only heightened her fear of anxiety. Would she ever fit inside the pretty popular box? Would her social pages ever overflow with likes and memes? She had made her choice not to hang on, not to contend with the stress. So she fed it with the foods of forget-me-nots. I'm sitting here in the dark. She fed it with the foods of forget-me-nots. One more Oreo. should fit under her unstable, overpacked emotional rug. It would fit as long as she eats all the double stuffing hanging over the edge of her adverse traumatic childhood experiences. The dreams of freedom come when her eyes are wide open. She finds her spirit flying unencumbered from the burdens of not knowing where her next joy will come from. Those moments are fleeting, like little pecks from young boys who she thought liked her smile. But the reality of it all is that they only wanted to make her cry. Cry she does, tears that fall on broken promises of party invites and putting on cherry bomb lip gloss in the girls' room. 1, 2, maybe 3, Oreo, Dorito, purge again, 1, 2. So it's from the other perspective of the
Yeah.
person who's being bullied and what they might do.
Yeah, that's an important piece. And I know they do have groups in certain schools and all that where they sit around and talk about these things and give support to one another. But to hear their perspective, that's powerful. Yeah. Anybody else has any piece you wanted to read, or I know Nazil, I see you look like you got something you want to share.
I had I had one to share, but this was one that I read, but it's a mistaken identity. It's something that happened in real.
Okay.
So I just thought I might share it.
Okay.
It's called Ricky McCargo. That's the name of the guy. It's my co-worker brother. He was 21 or 20 at the time when he got killed. Ricky McCargo is my name. Black brother, just living his dream. I'm a fashion designer. I love style, class. Yeah, that's me. I have a wife, love her so much. She's carrying my baby. That's my family, you know. I took care of them, made sure all is well. They step like me. Sure, you can tell. Always a hustle to make that dollar. Better do that than end up in a cellar. But this day was a sad one for me. Took my normal route, walking down the streets to work. Having to reach on time, it was no joke. Saw this brother ran past me. Took nothing of it. I guess he's happy. But then the cops came my direction, looking for the guy that ran. They missed him. What a situation. They looked at me and stopped right there. I was shocked by their stare. They looked like hungry wolves seeing their prey. I was cold sweating, don't know what to say. They mistook me for the guy they were after. I tried to explain, but there was laughter. I couldn't explain, my chances are gone. Just in my head, I sang the freedom song. They made me kneel down, hands held high. I looked up to the heavens. Am I going to die? My words of begging, they got the wrong guy, felt on deaf ears. They thought I was the spy. I was drenched with sweat, pleading for my life. Saw my family, saw my wife. Like wolves, they were ready to attack. Tears flowed. No one had my back. I couldn't speak, couldn't say a word. I've been shot. The wolves got me. I couldn't run, just for them to finish me. I saw my life played before me on the stage. No more chapters, no more turning pages. Sorry I couldn't be there today. Accept my apology, I couldn't stay. I saw my family one last time. Before I close my eyes, don't worry, I'll be fine. I hear the applause, but I'm not there now. Don't be mad if I don't take a bow.
Yeah, that's good.
That is good, very good.
Yeah.
That was more from the perspective of the person who was being, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was on his way to work. He was a fashion designer,
Uh-huh.
and he was on his way to his shop. He designed clothes and stuff, and the cops was chasing this guy, and the guy ran past him. And same time when the cops came around and saw him, and they thought it was him, and he tried to plead and plead and plead. So it's like my coworker was telling me about it, and while he telling me about it, I'm seeing everything going on,
Mm.
Yeah,
everything being, seeing him kneeling down, seeing him pleading for his life with his hands up in the air. The cops didn't care.
yeah.
And they shot him.
Oh.
Wow.
They shot him. Yeah.
It's
Well,
sad.
He was only about 21. He was 21
Yeah.
years.
Unbelievable. Wow. That's powerful storytelling. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dr. Dan, did you have another piece you wanted to read?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Here's one called Model Kits, Resurrecting an Old Hobby. A short time ago, while working a case, I came across something brand new. There are prizes to be won in contests that feature model kits for view. Beforehand, I built plastic model kits with prehistoric beasts as my first choice, yet creatures of horror and sci-fi fame I found favor with and gave equal voice. This hobby is one that I thoroughly enjoyed, bringing real and fable creatures to life. It ran for about 1.5 decades while deterring all matter of strife. Later, the model kit building went dormant due to varying manners of reason, ranging from becoming a professional to recreation sports of all season. Then one day I came across a notice about an event called Model Fest, where those who engage in model building could share their craft for prizes, all the best. Thus, I entered into this new venue, at first to purchase the models, but then when I found out about the contests, which managed to pique my interest full throttle. Since that initial Model Fest session, I've attended with renewed favor. Model kit shows with contest and without, all counting as the main thing to savor. I've found new model kits at these shows. I've also won ribbons, trophies, and prizes, sharing my craft with other like persons, each show different and full of surprises. Here's the moral of the entire story, stated in the best fashion that I know. Old hobbies can be resurrected to become part of much larger shows.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I remember you brought an example down once to the Writers Workshop down when we were at the Midtown Scholar. And I remember thinking, okay, real unique. Yeah, so appreciate that, Dan. Nanette, did you have
Certainly.
anything that you wanted to mention or
Other
share?
than pray for me when I go to USC on the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. My granddaughter's going to be graduating. And now they
Yeah,
canceled the big ceremony, so it's going to be
yeah.
smaller ceremonies and stuff. So I don't know what really to expect, with the demonstration and all that stuff going on down there. But
Absolutely. I thought about you because I know you said that they were still going to go on to have it, but then I saw in the news where they definitely canceled the big ceremony. And, it's still going strong in terms of people's protests and people being arrested and all that kind of stuff. So be safe.
well, they're going to have a ceremony. My granddaughter is a song girl, so and she will be dancing. I'm not sure. They're going to have this in some coliseum or something. The
Okay, good.
graduation for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent, excellent. Yeah,
So
well,
just keep us in
congratulations
prayer.
to it. Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, we'll do that for sure. Do that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this has been really good. I appreciate everyone's. I hope that everyone that is concerned about what happened to young Justin Johnson will, keep a level head first off. We should ask questions. We should, make sure that this doesn't get swept up under the rug or we all of a sudden just lose interest. The young man died and tragically, and the parents are left behind along with a host of family and friends who knew this young man, had hopes and dreams for him, I'm sure. And then for the father to find him, that has to be tough. So whatever we can do to support the family, then let's do that. And let's pray for those young people who were involved in this thing, running after him and all that stuff. And
Did they say how many kids were involved in that?
I saw a video. I only saw like 4, but supposedly they were started this tag thing about 3 or 4 days before the actual, event of his death. So they showed where it started in the school and they were running in the halls or doing something silly and all this kind of stuff. Then they showed them, because they have a ring bell video. They showed the kids coming up to his door to get him to come out to play, and then it shows him going out with the kids. And it's like, I think 4. I think I saw 4 or 5 of them. And then they somehow get into this whole thing where they're running and they're chasing him, and he runs down over the embankment, and and the guys talking about, he cusses and says something that they blank out, and then they said expletive, and then they say he's going back to Africa. He went all this kind of stuff,
And
So
they were all white kids?
yeah, they were all white kids, yeah. That I saw, yeah, the black all white kids. But yeah, it's just a tragedy. It's gonna, really the community is already a little bit divided in that district anyhow. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. And hopefully there'll be a lot of dialogue and conversation about bullying, harassment, the language that was used, all that kind of stuff needs to be
Well,
further
it was a
explored.
big rally because I came past that way. I was going out to 22 and I came past and the traffic was really bad right there around the
Yeah.
school.
Rutherford, they
yeah.
said it was at Rutherford, and that it started 3 p.m. And so
Yeah,
they all
I
over the
was,
place. Yeah. Mhm.
it was really bad, the traffic and stuff.
Well, I'm glad for the people really staying on top of it, yeah. But Chris, did we see all the videos tonight, or was there one more?
There was one more left, sir, if you had time.
Yes, and can we do one more then? I'd love to see it. We had 3 videos. I asked Chris in advance to, bring up things on bullying and harassment, so he did, and really good ones.
Please welcome to the stage, Derek Spears.
All right. My name is Derek Spears. I'm 16 years old, and I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. My poem is called Third Grade Bully because growing up, I was bullied a lot, and it's basically about how, from me, going through that experience of getting bullied changed me into a bully, and how I want to get back in touch with that little kid I used to
It may give us issues playing it, Dr.
be.
Kesson.
Yeah, okay. We can let it go. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate the time. So, okay. Anyhow, I appreciate everyone coming on tonight. I don't know what else is planned in terms of how people are going to respond and all that.
As we
But
grow up,
I just hope that people respond
we often
appropriately.
forget that
We don't need
once
any more
children.
violence or any more, division and hatred being passed around in communities, and sometimes that stuff jumps off as a result of, And the father, talked very calmly when he was on the interview. And he was basically calling for all of us to wait and see what's going on. He's heartbroken, of course, but he wants to make sure that we know all the facts before we just jump out there. He has hired an attorney, which is good. And so, we're going to pray for the family, and, I don't know. Any other sentiments before we go off? I know we only have a couple minutes. Anybody else? Sentiments, comments we need to do?
Well, I'm going to get my 10-year-old. I was talking to her earlier, my 10-year-old granddaughter. That's who I'm watching. I got to go watch her until their family gets back from St. Thomas. They're visiting.
Okay.
But anyway, she
All
wrote a
right.
poem. She wrote a poem, and
Oh,
she wrote a poem, and she said it's hanging up outside her door at school. She goes to
nice.
James School.
You don't have the poem, do you?
No, I don't have it, but she
Okay.
recited it to me. I'm gonna get her to write it for me so I can relate it to you. And I want
Okay.
to encourage her to do more poems.
That's good. Yeah.
Poetry.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Well, again, I want to thank you all for coming on, and I hope that you have yourself a blessed
2,
week.
3.
And say it again, Brother Chris.
Oh no, my apologies. I think my internet it was unstable, so I got disconnected there at the end.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got you. All right then. Well, listen, we're gonna get bounce on out and everything. I thank you
Yep.
for all you did tonight, bringing up those videos. They were very good, and I appreciate you. And everybody, check out Lazille Powder tomorrow. You in the powder room tomorrow? All right,
Whoop, whoop,
11:30.
whoop, whoop, whoop.
The Voice. What the Voice? 17104 Harrisburg. Check it out. Lazille Powder, 11:30, and also just stick with the Voice in general, right? Okay. Ro, thank you. Nanette, thank you.
Yep.
Dr. Nanette, thank you. And Lazille, thank you. And also, of course, Reverend Chris Thomas, thank you, man. And we'll be seeing you hopefully all next Friday night.
Okay, I'm going to check on this
Okay.
dog
All right.
that I'm watching.
Do what you got to do.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot now. Okay.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.